The following program is presented by the Tacoma School of the Arts and is solely responsible for its content. Produced in cooperation with KBTC Public Television, Bates Technical College, and a grant from the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs.
Hello everyone and welcome to Chatterbox, a co-production between KBTC and Tacoma School of the Arts. I'm Talman.
I'm Mississippi.
I'm Max, and today we're here with 2017 Tacoma Mayoral candidate and architect, Mr. Jim Merritt. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here with you. It's very exciting to talk to you.
How have the past couple weeks been following your campaign?
Well, we were disappointed. We had a really hard effort. We had lots of great volunteers and lots of great support, and we had a strong message. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get enough votes, and so we'll go on to other things.
So with Woodard as mayor now, what's your biggest fear about the direction she's going to take the city?
Well, first of all, I'm an optimist. I'm not fearful of anything. I just want good things to happen for our city. You know, so I hope to be an encouragement. I am on the North End Neighborhood Council, and I speak out on issues for positive results for our community. That's really what it means to me. I'm not upset or concerned that I didn't win as much as there's issues that I was hoping to move forward for our city. Those are the things that I'm concerned about. And I'm hopeful that the council and the new mayor will be able to find a good pathway.
So Jim, you're the first of your family to go to college. What was that like for you?
Well, it was a new experience, obviously. We didn't have anybody in the pathway to show us the way. I had a couple of mentors which were in my high school, a couple years older, that I kind of hooked onto when I went to the university. And so, we kind of learned as we went. But having mentors is an important thing, so you're not lost in the big university of 20-some thousand, 30,000 students at the time. But you focus on your little group and get mentors to help you through that. And that was very important for me.
And what made architecture an attractive prospect for you to pursue?
Well, architecture was kind of close to my growing up years. My dad was a contractor, and I was actually introduced to many architects growing up. And I like to draw, and I like to kind of think about design issues, and so it was almost a natural gravitation. And so I decided to pursue that, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the shaping and making good things happen for people. That's really what it's about to me.
And so has your experience as an architect influenced or informed any of your decisions during the campaign this year?
Well, probably in lots of ways. In that, I think, in just a couple of minutes, it's probably difficult to give you a good overall picture of that. But it really has to do with having an opportunity to work with many groups in many different arenas around this community to shape solutions. And I was really excited about a lot of those things happening over my career. What I really saw in the last almost the last decade is that we aren't moving to the next step. And I felt I needed to give this a chance so that we could make some better things happen, to get businesses and jobs starting to grow in this community, starting to have more interaction, facilitating groups and discussions so that we stop the fights that we're having as a community and look for solutions that get everybody involved early. Right. And that's really my style. So that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So is there any changes that you have made to your campaign?
Any changes to the campaign? I think the whole nature of a political campaign is very challenging when you have a lot of depth that you want to share.
Right.
I think it's very difficult to get the message out in a lot of detail. So skipping what is called the tops of the waves, it gets difficult to get to the to the grassroots of the issues. And I felt that was where the difficulty was. As far as what I would do differently, I would want to challenge some of the misconceptions a little more clearly early, and that's how that way could help that. we worked very hard. I had a great group of volunteers that really were at it every day. And so I'm so thankful for that. But I think the message wasn't quite clear enough. And I think I got kind of lost in the political machinery kind of thing instead of the passion what I bring to bring people together in a real collaborative way. And that's what I'm sad about. That's all.
Did you ever think when you were growing up that you would run for mayor?
No.
What was your dream job when you were growing up?
My dream job, well, I probably started with being a fireman like every kid probably does when they're 5 years old. My dad actually was a fire chief to begin with as a volunteer, and so I was down with those quite often. And but being around construction, I kind of like that. And but I grew up working on a farm also, so I knew I wasn't going to be a farmer. Because, and I was the first of our family to leave the farm at 16. 2 days after I was 16, I was working somewhere else. I didn't. So, but I like construction. I like to design and work on things like that, and that's been my passion. So I probably liked it, probably 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. I thought I liked doing architecture, and somehow I ended up doing it. That's all.
So on a different note, there's been a couple issues that have seemed to headline the campaign this year, like the LNG plant and affordable housing, and among other things. Do you have any strong views that you wish would have gotten more media coverage?
Yeah, I think the whole perception probably goes back to your question, Mississippi, is that the LNG was misunderstood, and that the challenge to me was Puget Sound Energy needed to answer the questions of risk and consequences, and they never did that. And so it looked like I was all anti of good energy and good future, and as an architect, see, I want good answers first before I move out, and we never got those. As a as a student, you research, right? You make sure you get all the facts. Well, I didn't feel that PSC was really answering those. They did a lot of PR. They still are doing PR. They're doing things that aren't really saying what are the potential risks and consequences. They say, well, it's in the EIS and that and that. See, that was like falling short to me. So I was planted on against, good energy and business growth there, which isn't true. But that was one of the misconceptions. To me, it was answer clearly what we have to accept, and then we can move forward. And I didn't think that was done very well.
So one of your biggest concerns for there was like the safety of the workers and the people around the LNG plant?
Yeah, the whole idea is whether there is a risk of explosion and really what the consequences really would be and how far that plume would be. And everywhere, in one side, there wasn't a point counterpoint. I went to one, was supposed to be a debate of the issues, and there were no scientists to explain why they wanted to do it. There was a lot of anti, but no real work on the positive nature of it, and that's why I felt that they just weren't coming forward well enough. I really feel good answers, and an architect, we have to have good answers before we do buildings that could put people at risk if it isn't safe, right? This is just a bigger kind of an issue that has the same issues.
So what's your opinion on the treatment of the detainees at the detention center?
I think that's kind of slipped under the radar for this community and in the Northwest, actually. I think the detention center was planned to be about a third of what it is. It's kind of creeped into a larger size. It is actually mandated city resources, like our police department has to actually be involved sometimes in the perimeter, at least down there. I think what you hear about some of the treatment is not acceptable to me, and I think it's kind of done in a way that I'm starting to believe that a private prison is not the way to go, and I think that's unfortunate. And so what we do is to challenge it, to try to redirect that whole industry to a more compassionate way of doing the incarceration. And what they're doing for with immigrants or the dreamers, I think is totally objectionable. I object to the whole thing. And I just think it's really sad where it's going. And where it is in a potentially very dangerous area of, let alone floods, and if we have a volcano or, if the Rainier were to go, there's other issues there. What about the LNG? What about other things down there? It seems really questionable.
And has your leadership experiences with coaching the basketball team at Bellarmine, as well as being a receiver of other leadership awards, has that affected the way you look at things, the way you answer questions with your personal opinion, as opposed to?
Well, I tell you, as a good coach, or you're receiving information and you're just trying to encourage. In that you're trying to define parameters and how you move forward, but you're really trying to listen, and you're trying to be kind of getting people to work together. And what I've learned through both the coaching and being on lots of teams and sports myself is that it's always teamwork, and it's not one person. And listen to and watch different talents that come to the table, and respect that. So I like working with groups, and it's kind of been a strength of why I've got involved in so many public projects, because I know how to bring people together to find a common ground solution. And it's not about what I think. It really isn't. It's about where the right common ground solutions are. And if you use that as a basis, good things can happen. So I don't dictate, I facilitate. And that.
Is there a politician or cultural figure who you look up to most as a role model for your politics?
You know, that's a tough one, because you know, at many different levels. I was looking back in our city. Gordon Johnston was a mayor in the late '60s when there was a lot of turmoil. He was an architect. And, he was the only architect that, no, there was one back in the '80s, I was told, by Bill Barsma, but I always thought that he was found kind of the common ground so people could start working together, and he kind of helped turn things around. Right before he was elected, they recalled 5 council members. There was a lot of tough things going on in that, so I think locally that was good. I've been reading a book lately about President Eisenhower, which is very fascinating, because you think this is an authoritative, he was a general. Just the opposite. If you read the book, he was about finding the collaborative solution, letting everybody have a chance to speak. Now, that's not a general, but see, that's a different kind of leadership. That's a leadership of bringing people to the table. That's what I emulate in that. And it's not the authoritative. If you look back in those years, it was, Patton and MacArthur. If you look at the early, the 40s, and even in World War II, and in Korean War, there was the authoritative generals did not really move beyond that. Eisenhower did. Why? Because he was able to bring people together and let everybody have a chance and find the right combination. So I kind of look up to that. Lincoln, we all look up to Lincoln. It's good because he, what he did that was it was so unique. He reached out and invited his adversaries during the presidential campaign to be in his cabinet. So his cabinet was all of his competitors because he wanted to know the other points of view on a daily basis. Now that's what I'm about too. I want to hear those things. That's all.
What would you say the biggest accomplishment of your career is?
No, I've had, I wouldn't want to pin it on one thing. My biggest accomplishment that I'm proud of is bringing people together to find good solutions on a number of very complex projects in that. And so it can't be just one. It was in the planning of turning around what were fights and what were felt in the community as not acceptable solutions, and or where things were headed. So I had the opportunity to be the facilitating collaborative leader in Union Station and a Sarco cleanup, which did become Point Ruston after our work, and Foss Waterway, the I-705 freeway, which we changed the whole design on. But did I do those things alone? Absolutely not. It was a matter of just being a good collaborative leader in my role with other leaders in other parts of all those projects, and just be able to come. So I'm proud of a lot of those things, but every project has different challenges, and you just want to make sure you got good information and give everybody an opportunity, because you never know where the good ideas come from. That's all.
Do you believe you might have overstated anything with Point Reston's progress?
Well, I think that was misinterpreted in that. To me, as I did say, my leadership in the like in the pamphlet, but my leadership provided the opportunity or made Point Ruston and Foss Waterway and Union Station possible. What that really meant was my leadership in bringing people to the table and letting everybody have a chance to be a part of the project. That's the kind of leadership. It's that collaborative leadership is really what, when I say about you can't get all those things out in the political arena, so it was misconstrued that I was taking credit for something that wasn't correct, but I really wasn't in that. So I still stand by the work that I did, allowed the groundwork for those things, but opposition wanted to cut through my strengths. And that's what happens in that. So that's one thing I do feel bad about, that I wasn't able to challenge that appropriately. Whenever I got a chance to speak out, I'd say my leadership helped make it possible. And that was clearer, but still not as clear what collaborative leadership. And it's really through readings like with former President Eisenhower, which is collaborative leadership is what it's about. And that's really what I provided. And so I don't feel I overstated anything with the right definition.
So what exactly were your contributions to the Point Ruston waterfront?
Pardon me?
What exactly were your contributions to the Ruston waterfront?
Point Ruston?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a very detailed story, but if you went back in the papers of the 91, 92, right in there, or even the 93, there was a big fight going on. It was going to go to court. It would have been in court for 20-some years because a lot of politicians and attorneys just think about fight and let the courts decide, right? And our position, my position, was just the opposite. So I went down to the head of the Sarco site. His name is Tom Aldrich, and he would be willing to talk to anybody. And I said, let me propose a way that I believe we can get through this and get to a future. And I explained it, and Tom Sarco then and the town of Ruston, City of Tacoma, and Metro Parks collectively hired us through they did have interviews with other firms too, and I and two of my colleagues were interviewed, and we were hired to facilitate a process to find the common ground solution. That's what we did. And over an 8-month period, we worked with all the community. We had like 35 community groups. You know where the Ruston School is down at and the town of Ruston? It's just behind the commencement now. We took one of the classrooms in there, and we had what we called the Sarco Weeks, and we did all these alternatives. We had one week where we brainstormed ideas. There was no bad ideas. If somebody wanted something, we'd put it up there, and we worked all the way through that. We had alternatives of what to do with the site that were from A all the way through concepts R, S, and T. I think there was like 20-some different ways of doing it. And then through the next 10 years after that was a commitment of the 4 entities, which, by the way, turned everybody 180 degrees. All of the entities were in for a 20-year fight. And if we wouldn't have had the facilitation to find the common ground, there would still be a bad site down there with a fence around it. And that. So did I do well, the end of the interesting thing is I did do a preliminary work for Michael Cohen, and I do have the information to prove that. And that, but I didn't get into the design detail of it. No, it was just conceptual, and we gave them the information that was developed, and then moved forward. And I'm very happy with what they've done, and I don't take credit for the design of Point Ruston. I take credit for what we did do, which was facilitating the community to a common ground solution. That's what we did.
So what would you say your favorite building in Tacoma is, and why?
In what now?
In Tacoma. What is your favorite building in Tacoma?
Oh, my favorite building in Tacoma. That would be difficult to answer, number one, because I've been proud of working with many, many different clients. So, and I always look back, when somebody asks me what's your favorite building, I look back to a Frank Lloyd Wright quote. Remember Frank Lloyd Wright? Have you ever heard about him? He was a very prominent architect, American architect that was in the 20th century, and he died in the late 50s, I believe, but from early 1900s. His answer to that question, which I like his answer, was my favorite building is the last one, the last one I did. That's my favorite building. So I'm proud of a lot I've had a chance to touch, from small projects to, very large projects. Probably the most lengthy project, which it's become a symbolic one, is the Union Station and the federal courts. And I was the lead architect. We had a big team. I mean, we had probably 8 or 10 architects in different fashions working with our firm and some other colleagues on it, plus engineers. So I worked on that project for 5 years. And that wasn't the only thing I was doing, but that was a good one. And the Metro Parks headquarters, I always enjoyed that project because there was a message there in what we were doing. The Boy Scout headquarters, another nice project. The concept of what happened to on the convention center was another fun project. And there's so many nice historic buildings we've worked on. There's a number of new projects, and I'm just happy I had a chance to be involved with some of those. As far as there's our firm actually was awarded the project, but then I moved on to some other things. On Stadium High School is obviously another vanguard, but I did not work on that project, and that another one of my colleagues did. And so that's been a nice restoration that was done here in town. Jeff Ryan, who was with me for many, many years, was kind of one of the key architects in that one, through our firm and another firm in Seattle. So a lot of things are team efforts in the architectural of large projects. So.
And have you been to any leadership camps, such as ones for school or Boy Scouts, perhaps?
Well, I've been to a lot of leadership training classes. Probably the most fundamental one that is really is a national organization which had started a Tacoma chapter, is American Leadership Forum. And have you heard of that?
I have.
Okay, and I was asked and became a member of the first class. So I was part of that. It's been going on for 25, 26 years now. And so we've been involved on a regular basis of that. So there was a few years after the first 6 years that there was a hiatus and there weren't a few classes. But now I think it's like at class 23. So there's like 400 to 500 people in Tacoma that have been part of that. And I think it was a great experience. It actually transformed. If you look at the timing of that, it was before we did ASARCO, before I did Foss Waterway, and I learned how to really just a little more of reaching out and opening. So leadership really taught me through American Leadership Forum is being a good servant leader. Thinking of other people first. Yeah. And not dictating. And that really came through that. And so there was many different, through the architectural organization that also had a number of leadership training things that, on a national and state basis. That was part of those two. And the American Institute of Architects, which I'm a part of. And that's.
So do you feel that all this leadership training that you have was like a vital and necessary part of like how you got where you are today?
How we do it now?
How you got where you are today, like just as an architect and politician in general?
Just hard work, just go where your passion is.
Yeah.
Just you gotta love what you're doing. And if you do that, would I have loved to do different things? Yeah, there's a few things. I love to coach, and I do love to do that, but that's also part of what I do, is coaching. When I had an organization, I've downsized that now, so I don't have that. So I think I've just been very fortunate that I've got involved with a lot of other people, and we've had a good run in that.
So what's your opinion on the tent city in downtown Tacoma?
Well, I think we need to, again, here be more collaborative with a lot of organizations that are already out there. And again, I think I see the city kind of assuming they want to kind of think through an organization like the Tent City without looking at all the organizations that are already out there doing little components. I think, as an architect, I look at diagrams, org chart, who's all out there doing components, and start working as a team more. I don't think we're doing that very well. That's why I'm concerned. I don't think the Tent City, it just, housing only is it. We got to do something to help people find a better self-esteem, looking for encourage them to learn skills and find a future. I don't think the tent city alone can do that.
How do you say we could accomplish this, though?
Well, you've got to define who's out there doing certain pieces. Like the Tacoma Rescue Mission has certain elements that they do to help to have a job. There's other organizations that are in the community, like Faith House. There's one in Seattle I'm aware of called Cedronar that does things that help people through, whether it's addiction or homelessness or learning skills to help them to a better future. And training and apprenticeship programs, we just need to do a better job to give opportunities and instead of just housing. And I think there's others that are out there. We just need to define it so we're not doing things independently.
So where do you see a future of your career going?
That's the unknown question. I think when one door closes, as an optimist, I'm looking for the next one opening. I've had a few different possibilities come up. We'll just see. I want good things for my family and good things for our city. And I'll just look to be an optimist about helping where I can.
We thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're most welcome. Glad to be here to talk to you.
It's really great to hear all of your opinions.